The Milwaukee Bucks might really be doing the Toronto Raptors a favor with their head coaching search, and let me explain why. If you guys haven't seen, ESPN sources, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, the Milwaukee Bucks had narrowed down their coaching search to 3 candidates. Current Toronto Raptors assistant Adrian Griffin, former Toronto Raptors head coach Nick Nurse, and current Golden State assistant Kenny Atkinson. Adrian Griffin and Kenny Atkinson are also in line to potentially get that Raptors head coaching job. They're not my number one picks, but they are definitely on my list of candidates who I believe would do a good job in Toronto. I'm a little bit higher on Griff than I am on Kenny Atkinson, but I'm pretty high on both of those coaching candidates. But why this is good for the Raptors. So if you're like me, you're a big fan of Monty Williams. If you're like me, you're also a big fan of Jerry Stackhouse, and I think that I know that those are my top 2 coaching candidates. In particular, I'm very interested in getting Monty Williams. I think that the culture change that he would bring to the Toronto Raptors organization would be a breath of fresh air, holding players accountable. Hopefully, he's learned a little bit from the DeAndre Ayton situation, but ultimately, I'm looking for a culture reset. Monty Williams provided that to the Phoenix Suns. I believe he could replicate that and provide that to the Toronto Raptors, who need a sense of direction. But time is ticking. We need to find a new head coach. And I was originally saying a couple weeks ago, why rush? You've got a whole playoffs where teams that underperform are going to fire their coaches. And we saw that with the Sixers. We saw that with the Bucks and the Suns. As it comes to the Sixers, I want nothing to do with their coach. As it comes to the Bucks, I don't really want anything to do with their coach. It comes to the Suns, I want everything to do with their coach. But it was great. People opened up. Opportunities opened up to find coaches for the Raptors. What I didn't think about at the time was that when these teams who are in the playoffs and underperform, when those spots, when they fire their coaches and they become available for us to hire, it also opens up those intriguing coaching positions for a potential candidate to fall into. So thinking about Monty Williams, it's great he's becoming available, but are we a more desirable coaching destination than Milwaukee or Philadelphia? I mean, we saw with Ime Udoka. I didn't want Ime Udoka to be the Raptors coach, but he wanted to go with a little bit more of a futuristically driven situation. Whereas the Raptors situation, fans are down on what the situation is. We feel like there's no direction. We don't know where this team is going. Are we going to be good this year? Are we going to be bad this year? Are we going to be neither? We're going to be mediocre again. That doesn't seem like a very interesting coaching destination to fall into. Now, there's multiple ways to look at it. I thought Milwaukee should have been all in on Monty Williams, and I think Philly should be all in on Monty Williams, which would mean that's 2 what I perceive to be more desirable destinations where Monty Williams can choose over the Raptors, if he has any interest in the Raptors role at all, assuming he does. But now the Milwaukee Bucks, as I said, do us a little bit of a favor here. They've narrowed down their coaching search to 3 candidates who, Nurse you're not going to get, but 2 candidates that I can live with missing out on. I feel like Nick Nurse will become their head coach, and all of a sudden, that opens up. I think I know Phoenix and Philadelphia are also interested in Nick Nurse. What's great is Nick Nurse is going to take likely one of those coaching spots. So that leaves only 2 of those desirable destinations available. Monty Williams won't go back to the Suns, obviously, because he just got fired, which means he can only go to Philly. So Milwaukee kind of did us a favor here, clogging up one of these interesting coaching spots, because I perceive, once again, working with an MVP caliber player like Embiid or KD or Giannis on a contending team to be more desirable than going to the Raptors. But then I was given a little bit of a new perspective when I was on Twitter talking about this. I made this exact point on Twitter, but somebody mentioned in my replies, and this really opened my eyes to the situation, that potentially is the Raptors a more desirable destination? Because with these places, less flexibility for the future, less flexibility in planning what to do with the team. This is the hand you're dealt with. And it's championship or bust for any of these teams. You want to be a championship team for next season, right? So the pressure is on the situation. You have less of a leash for what you can do with the team. Whereas the Raptors, it's a little bit of a blank canvas here. You're here for the start of a new foundation being set for the future. You don't need to find success immediately. You just need to build at least a little bit for the upcoming season. You could probably do a not a great job this year and still keep your job for the next season. So there's multiple ways to look at it. For a young and up-and-coming coach, maybe the Raptors are a more desirable destination to give yourself a bit of time to work. For somebody like Monty Williams, who is a clear-cut contending caliber coach, maybe Philly or not Phoenix, but maybe Philly's a more desirable destination. But there's multiple ways that coaches can go about looking into this situation, which makes me, I guess, a little bit more optimistic for who the Raptors can bring in as their next head coach. And some reports are saying that potentially that next Raptors coach could be Steve Nash. This report's coming from Michael Grange, and it's being reported again by the NBA Central, who often take quotes out of context, but apparently they were happy with what they saw from Steve Nash. I don't think Steve Nash is exactly what this team needs. Could he be a great assistant? Yes, but like I've been saying, a lot of it could just be the Raptors management. They're doing their due diligence. But at what point does the diligence become like overdue? You're like JJ Redick being interviewed, Steve Nash. I think we're going maybe a touch too far for these decisions. But maybe there's a big focus on David Adelman, who's currently the coach, an assistant with the Denver Nuggets. They're obviously still in the playoffs, so you don't want to reveal anything about him because that'd be overstepping a little bit, and the Raptors definitely don't want to step on anybody's toes in those situations. So there's a variety of ways the Raptors can go about this whole coaching saga. Monty Williams is my number one candidate, but Milwaukee kind of did it as a favor, taking that spot away from somebody like Monty Williams, because I believe that is the best situation for the Raptors to bring Monty Williams in to really change around the culture within this team. We've been patient. I think we've been right to be patient, but we are 1 day less than a month at the time of recording. It's May 23rd recording. We are 1 day less than a month away from the NBA draft. There is a potential to trade for the 3rd pick ahead of the draft. There's a potential to trade for the 7th pick ahead of the draft. I want the coach involved with those decisions. I want the coach involved with the drafting decisions. So the next 2.5 weeks, by June 10th, I really feel like a coach should be picked for this team. Would love it to be Monty Williams. Would be interesting to see if it could be somebody like Jerry Stackhouse, maybe Adrian Griffin, maybe Kenny Atkinson. But the time for action is here. We'll see who it turns out to be.